Hey everybody, this one's a little different, so I wanted to pop on, show you a bit more of the living room here, and just give you a little background on what's going on. The following interview that I did 2 years ago for Memorial Day of 2020. At the time, I was working on a different project, and for Memorial Day, I reached out to my then 95-year-old grandfather to talk about his experiences in World War II. Um, he had quite an interesting experience, and I actually wrote down some notes because I want to do it justice. The date was June the 4th, 1944. So, for all you history buffs, remember what's going to happen in the next couple of days in history. So, June the 4th, 1944, there's a task group, a U.S. Naval Task Group 22.3. They were traveling, they were heading towards Europe. We'll leave it at that because he does discuss where he was actually headed in the interview. They made contact with a German submarine, U-505, somewhere off the coast of Western Africa, at which point they engaged the submarine, and it was a group. I think there was 5 ships and 1 carrier. The carrier I remember off the top of my head was the USS Guadalcanal. But one of the boats in question was a destroyer escort, DE-665. Was known as the USS Jenks. It was scrapped, unfortunately, I think in 1968 or so. That was my grandfather's ship. He was on board that ship when they found U-505. So they opened fire. I've found a lot of records on it. The amount of shots that were put out by the U.S. group toward that submarine in such a short period of time is incredible. Anyway, the sub was damaged. The crew surrendered. And I believe in that whole thing, there was only 1 fatality in the entire thing. So the task force took on a lot of the German prisoners. They took on a lot of documents and an Enigma machine. As was covered in the interview, we're not sure what became of that particular Enigma machine, but the submarine itself, U-505, was restored and now resides in, what is the actual name of it? Oh, the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. U-505 resides inside there, and on the plaque, or on the wall, there is a plaque that bears my grandfather's name, Joseph Upsitnik, for being a part of that service. So after they get the sub, they have the crew, so now they need to deal with the sub. So the Guadalcanal basically hooks it and tows it. They put a skeleton crew in the sub to make sure that the pumps are running so it doesn't sink. And the Guadalcanal was escorted by the fastest ship in the fleet, in the task group, which would have been the USS Jenks, the only steam-powered ship at the time. So they escort them back to Bermuda rather than continuing on to their final destination. But it's at this point, for all of you students of history, that the tide of the war was beginning to turn. Anyway, I just wanted to give a little intro as to what the next 45 or so minutes is going to be. It's only audio, so it's a black screen, so if you want to throw this on in the background while you're doing something, feel free. It was one of the first solo interviews I did. I'm really happy with it. My grandpa had a good time. And for the record, Pap I just talked to him not that long ago. He's doing well. He's 97 now, going to be 98 in September. But there you go. And another reason is because this was done in May of 2020, the lockdown and the pandemic had just started, so there are some random references to things that were going on in the time that do not make sense now. So just wanted to give you guys a little heads up. Hopefully you enjoy it. History comes alive, literally. No better way to get history than right from the source. So please enjoy. Let me know what you think. And on behalf of myself, thank you to all the members of the armed forces, past, present, and future, for your service to the country, and not just the United States, your service to all the countries, for all the people that around the world that watch this and may listen to it. But happy Memorial Day for all the U.S. service people, and hopefully you enjoy. Let me know what you think. This one's rather special as it is Memorial Day, and I figured what better way than to celebrate our veterans and those who fought to make us a free country by reaching out to one. And I have with me a real live World War II veteran, 95 years young, a legend in his spare time. The world knows him as Joe Upsitnik. Many people know him as That's Him, Officer. I simply call him Pap as he is my grandfather. Pap, how are you? Thanks for coming on.
Fine. Good to talk to you.
You too. How's life in quarantine?
All right. Well, it's a little tough. You can't do much.
Nah, you missing baseball?
Oh, yes.
So what do you
No
think?
activity on the field.
What do you think's going to happen? You think they're going to just shorten the season, or what's going to happen, do you think?
I don't know whether there'll be any. I think they'll just shorten the season now because professional baseball is should have started. We should have had a month in already.
Oh, God, yeah. We should be, 30 some odd games in by this point.
Yeah. And they're still talking about playing hockey playoffs for last year. So
yeah, I
don't
think.
know what.
Yeah, but with the time that's been gone by, I think the best thing to do would just be to start the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
But so baseball is your game, right? I know you told.
I like it.
What's that?
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, we all played.
How long you been watching the baseball there, Bert? Probably since you were a little kid, right?
Oh yeah.
So, Rook, before we get into the World War stuff, who are some of the best ones you ever saw? I know you went to Cleveland to see Bob Feller pitch before he went out after 2/3 of an inning.
Yeah, we were going to go to the service, so we figured we never saw Bob Feller. And we went to Cleveland from Pittsburgh, and he lasted about 2 hours, and they knocked him out of the box.
But, hey, you got to see Bob Feller. There are not a lot of people wandering around the planet Earth that can say that. Well, did you ever see Ted Williams, or was he in the service? Because I know he played in the service, didn't he?
Ted Williams was in the service.
Did you ever see any of those service games?
I probably did. Yeah, I probably saw Ted because I was in Norfolk for a while, going to a service school, and for different specialties. And I saw a lot of those guys. They were at the Air Force. They were mostly in the Air Force, and they were at Norfolk.
Yeah, I was gonna say because wasn't Ted Air Force?
Yeah.
Well, how many other guys were there? I know there was quite a few, but who are some of the other big names you remember from playing military ball?
Oh, no, I'd probably get them mixed up, but Ted Williams and I don't know. I better stop right there.
Did you? I don't know at what point you started watching. Did you ever get to see any of the Yankees, like Babe Ruth and Gehrig and all that, or was that because they didn't have interleague play until what, 97?
No, the only thing I had. Remember, I used to have the baseball cards, and I used to buy bubble gum, and you got a card.
The old gum packs.
Yeah, and then we would switch cards, and you were saving, players, and everybody had a favorite, and there were different methods you could save teams.
Well, who was your favorite? When you were growing up, who was your baseball hero?
Well, I liked Joe DiMaggio.
Oh, I think everybody liked Joe DiMaggio. He was the man.
Yeah, and we had in Pittsburgh, we had the Wainers.
Mm-hmm.
They were twins.
Was it Paul and who was the other one?
Paul and Lloyd.
Lloyd, okay. I can never remember Lloyd. I remember Paul.
Yeah.
Where did they play back then? Was Forbes Field around then, or was that before Forbes Field?
Forbes Field. It was down there in Oakland, across from the Cathedral Learning.
Okay, down by Pitt.
Field. Down by Pitt, and the back field where you'd go into the museum on Forbes Street.
Okay.
It was right across from the Shenley Hotel.
Huh, all right. Yeah, because I know when I was born, Forbes Field was long gone. But I remember, I think at some point they put a piece of plexiglass or plastic over what used to be the old home plate. I don't know if that's still there.
Yeah, okay, they probably do, yeah. And they tore the wall down. They have a portion of the wall is a memento, old Forbes Field.
Well, those were the days of sports, weren't they?
Yeah, yeah. You got a 10-cent beer then inside.
Wait, those were the days, weren't they? 10-cent beer. 10 cents doesn't buy you anything anymore.
No, not anymore.
10 cents won't even buy you a piece of penny candy.
And I used to live in Wilkinsburg, and they used to have Boys' Day one day a month, or Kids' Day, you know.
Yeah.
You get on and see the ball game free. And my dad didn't have a car, so we probably all jumped on the streetcar. I don't know whether we had to pay 10 cents, or checks used to be 3 for a quarter, so I can't remember how much we would pay.
Yeah, probably. If it's 3 for a quarter, a dime sounds about right for a single.
Yeah. That was 10 cents, but if you bought 3, you saved a nickel out of 3 trips.
Well, I know, and when Dad was growing up, didn't you used to go down to the games because you saw Clemente a lot, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Clemente and Stargell and Mazeroski and all those guys, the legendary Pirates before a 20-year losing skid that I saw when I was growing up.
Well, even after we got out of the service, we used to, the old guys you hadn't seen for a couple of years, and we'd buy a 6-pack probably for $1 and take it right in there and sit it for $1. You sat in the stone bleachers by the scoreboard. Then after about 6-7 innings, we used to take turns. You couldn't watch. Somebody had to watch for baseballs coming down while the guys were drinking a beer.
Yeah, you don't want to get hit in the face while you're drinking a beer, do you?
That's right.
At least not at a baseball game.
Right.
Well, now, I remember you told a story when the Giants came to Pittsburgh, and you were in the outfield bleachers, and you give old Willie Mays a little bit of the business.
Yeah.
Was that it? Hey Willie, it's me, Joe. Did he turn and acknowledge you, or was he too focused on the game at that point?
He waved.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
All right.
But baseball, what about football? Did you follow the Steelers from the start, or did that take you a while, like after the service?
Oh, no, I used to follow the Steelers.
Yeah, because they came in 1933, so you would have been 9.
But it wasn't as popular,
Right, because the Pirates were much more established at that point.
Right, and money wasn't that free then because, we had the Depression in 32, 34, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And things were restricted.
So you couldn't just go out and randomly buy shit?
No. Well, then I was only a kid.
Well, true. All right, so you were, I know you said you were down in Norfolk for, what was it, up for a sailor school, or what did you call service school?
Well, I was service school, yeah.
Yeah, but I know you did your basic training not far from where I am, down in the Finger Lakes.
I did in Sampson, New York.
Yeah, Sampson Base, and because remember a couple years ago we went down to the base. It's a museum now.
And we went. Right now they have an Air Force. They use it for air training.
Yeah, because I was looking into the history of it. For World War II, it was a naval training. And then right after that, it switched to Air Force for the Korean War, and it's been Air Force related ever since.
Okay.
Well, that was the only time I think it was ever really used for naval, was during World War II.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what they have now. Probably some kind of a park there now.
Yeah, I think it's a park. There might be a cemetery there, and I'm pretty sure it's just a museum. I don't know if it's actually used for training anymore.
Well, the last time I was there, you were with us.
Yeah.
I was with you.
Yeah, that was really cool. We saw your class photo, basically, because there was that guy who was the Korean War vet who was kind of the guide through everything. And you, how long were you in basic for?
Oh, 6 weeks.
6 weeks coming from not knowing anything, and then they put you on basically send you down to Norfolk, put you on a boat, and send you out to sea, right?
Yeah. Well, incidentally, I was wondering why I was in OGU, that's outgoing unit,
Mm-hmm.
and all my buddies' cells, most of them were on the ship already. The guy I went with, he was on a cruiser, and here I went to Boilermaker school. So out of 21 guys, most of them were steam fitters, pipe fitters, licensed plumbers, and all that. And here I am, 18 years old, and I come out with a rating, third class. That's equal to a sergeant. Of course, after the guys all went on the ship, they all got a rating.
How did you get assigned to Boilermaker school anyway?
I have no idea. I never saw a boiler. I was going to be a pattern maker at Westinghouse. When I graduated from high school, I was only 17. I was too young for the apprentice course at Westinghouse. When I come out of the service, I was older than 21. I was too old for an apprentice program. So that shut my apprenticeship at Westinghouse and knocked it out the door.
Okay. So then basically, you learned a little bit, and then it was kind of, once you actually got on the boat, you sort of had to learn it on the fly kind of thing?
Oh, well, yeah, well, I was in charge of a steaming watch in a boiler room. We had 4 guys, and each watch we used to work 4 on and 8 off. That was during the wartime.
Yeah.
And we were continually going like that all the time. Ship I was on was built in Draveau, you know that.
Yeah, the USS Jinx.
Yeah, and we commissioned it in New Orleans, Louisiana, on the 19th of January, 1944. We took a shakedown to Bermuda, British West Indies.
Okay.
While I was on there, we steamed 111,785 miles.
That's a long way.
Yeah. Would you like to hear where we were?
Oh, please. Yeah, this is because you may have told me, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
Right. I'm going to look.
Yeah, because you got your book with you, right?
Yeah, I got my book. Yeah. Here, the ports of call were okay.
Okay.
New Orleans, Louisiana. That's where we put it in commission.
Okay.
And incidentally, this ship was built at Draveau in Pittsburgh, and I had already been assigned to the ship, and I tried getting transferred to Pittsburgh to help, while it was still under construction, but that never failed. So I had to stay in Sampson there till I was ready for my ship.
Okay.
Anyway, we went to New Orleans. We put the ship in commission, and we went to Bermuda for our shakedown, British Wind Indian. Then we went to Boston, Norfolk, Brooklyn. Then we went convoy duty, Swansea, Wales. We did convoy duty. That's where we protected hundreds of merchant ships carrying supplies overseas.
Yeah, because the Jenks was a destroyer escort, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And sometimes this was dangerous because if a ship broke down and they were floundering while they repaired, we had to stay with it. We left the convoy and we would stay there to protect that disabled vessel. And, you were like a sitting duck there.
Did that happen often, or was that just a worst case scenario?
Oh, no. Only when, no. This was like our first cruise to Swansea, Wales.
See, that's interesting, because I never knew you were in Wales.
Oh, yeah. And, I was there the one time in a big convoy. And then we went back. We went to New London, Connecticut, and we used to operate with the submarines. We used to go out and try tracking them. Yeah, this was like a training course.
Okay.
And we were in Casco Bay, May, and then we went to Bizerte, Tunisia. We were there. And another time we went to Palermo, Sicily. We were in Oran, Algeria. We were in the Azores. And
that's
we,
right. You were in the Azores. You mentioned that before, which is
yeah,
what 90 or so, 100 miles off the coast of Portugal, if I believe right.
yeah.
And I know at some
We
point
were.
you spent time in Cuba, right?
Oh yeah, I was going to say Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Well, we were welcome there, and we spent some time in Key West, Florida, and we were in Savannah, Georgia, Rhode Island.
Wait, so you were really
Maybe,
bouncing around all that? I never realized you bounced around that much, especially on the coast.
oh yeah, I was a one ocean sailor.
Yeah.
Every time we were going to go do something else, like they were making near the end of power stations. They were making on these, so we were scheduled to be a power station at Pacific, and here somebody got they bombed the rear back end of the ship, the DE. So then instead of remodeling him and putting him back, they took him and made this a power ship out.
Oh, okay.
So we stayed.
See, that I never knew. I never thought to ask that before.
Well, we crossed the Atlantic 5 times, convoy escort, and participated in the capture of a German submarine U-505.
Yep, that was the big one. That's the one everybody remembers because that was
Okay.
a couple days before D-Day, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we were the 4th, and then the 6th was a D-Day. So we captured the German U-boat U-505, first enemy man of war to be captured by the U.S. Navy on the high seas in wartime since the War of 1812. This incident took place on the coast of North Africa on the 4th of June, 1944. And the Navy Secretary withheld the story for over a year. Then, with the fall of Germany and surrendering of subs in the Atlantic, the U-505 episode was released, and soon afterward, the Jenks was awarded the Presidential Unit Citation.
No shit, I didn't know they withheld that for a year.
They did, but I know it was, we were interned in Bermuda for a time because they wanted to take the German submarine to the States.
Yeah.
So we were with the carrier, and there were 5 DEs. 4 of them were diesel, and we were steam. And since we were steam, we were selected to accompany the seagoing tug carrying the sub to Bermuda.
Yeah, because the steam would have been the fastest out of all of them, right?
Yeah. So
'Cause the
that's
others
why
were
we
diesel, right?
escorted. The diesel were slower than us, and I was on the steam job.
Hence you were the Boilermaker, because I don't think... Did the diesels have boilers, or was it just the steam ones?
No, they were motorized. They burnt diesel fuel.
Okay. And then, now, after you grabbed U-505, you escorted them back to Bermuda, but now, I think you mentioned, had you not done that, you were supposed to go to Normandy, right?
Yeah, because that was 2 days later.
Yeah, so you would have been naval support at Normandy.
I imagine we were headed that way.
Right, but then it just happened that you saw the sub, or...
They didn't publish where you were going. That was all secret.
Oh, right, yeah, you couldn't do that.
But I was in where we bunked. There was 3 bunks in the center. It was unusual. The guy above me was a quartermaster, and I used to go see him on the bridge. Quartermaster did the navigate, for the captain. And I had a map, and I could tell where we were headed.
Okay, so they didn't tell you, but you could figure it out from the map.
Yeah. I had the longitude and latitude. And I had a map, and I could tell what way we were going.
Well, can you imagine? I don't know. Can you imagine that? Because you would have had to have been there to see D-Day firsthand, basically, if the sub hadn't gone up. Okay, so how long were you in Bermuda with U-505, and what did they do with it after that? Did they just bring it?
They towed it to New York.
Okay.
They took it to the Boston yards, or Boston Navy Yard, and they did some work on it, and they took it on a bond selling tour in the United States.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They went.
Yeah, the war bonds. So, buy war bonds, because look what we did. We captured this.
That's what they did. Well, after that, it was sitting somewhere, and a captain almost got a demotion for maintaining it or taking it as a prisoner.
Yeah.
They thought ended up it was on a bond tour. Then they had it stored at the Chicago Science Center on the outside. You know that.
Yeah, because it's still down. It's still in Chicago, right?
Yeah, it was getting rusty in that. So then they went and they built a new business. And have you seen it in Chicago?
I've seen pictures. I never actually got down to see it in person. It's at the Museum of Science or wherever it is.
Yeah. Well, they built a new housing for it, and it's inside now. Well, we were there 3 years ago, Al. About 3 years ago, we had a reunion there. All the Hayjacks and the Upsetniks.
Yeah, because I remember seeing pictures of people standing by the memorial wall pointing to your name.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Okay, so that's been a couple of years since we were there.
Well, hopefully once everything gets settled, I'd like to get down there and actually see it in person.
Linda's, Al's wife is planning having a reunion this year in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And, well, with all this turmoil, we don't know what's going to happen. It's been postponed now.
Right, everything's up in the air for the foreseeable future.
From Memorial Day till Labor Day, yeah. So we're just playing by ear now.
Yeah, you have to. I remember at one point when we were in Vegas a couple years back, I was talking to you about it, and you said at some of the reunions, I think a few of the old German sailors that were on the ship were there?
Oh, yeah, they were there, and they had written a book, and they were selling books.
Any animosity toward it, or was it at that point so much time had passed and they were just sailors doing what they were told to do?
Right. They were business transactions as far as them just trying to sell their books.
Yeah, and plus, they were probably kids like you. They were just doing what they were told.
Well, yeah. I don't know whether I ever showed you pictures, but they all had big beards on the ship. And the ship they were on didn't have it too good. They had a lot of bad experiences when they were out in the field, underwater.
Well, I can't really think. I can't really think of many good experiences you would have in a sub. You're basically in an underwater coffin at that point.
Yeah.
And now after they towed did you take the U-505 back to Boston, or was that somebody else and then you went back?
No. That was somebody else.
Okay.
No, we just took it from North Africa over to Bermuda. We escorted with a seagoing tug. Now, a seagoing tug can pull that sub. He can make pretty good speed. We were his aid. We protected them.
Now, I remember seeing pictures of the tug, and I think I'll have to send it to you. In the one picture, your ship is in the background. The Germans tried to scuttle it, but they weren't very successful. But they had didn't you guys have to have like some semblance of a skeleton crew in there to keep the props moving so it didn't sink?
Yeah. And then once they got in there, they had qualified engineering officers, found out the sea caulks to close and how to pump the bilges, clean all the water that they opened the sea caulks.
Well,
they closed them.
Yeah, I remember reading the one. The guy pulled it, but he left it right next to the hole. Like he didn't take it with him, so it was real easy to plug that one.
Yeah.
I think the American that plugged it won a Medal of Honor for that.
Okay, well, yeah.
Now, did you ever actually go on the sub, or you just took on prisoners and documents?
Oh no, we took on 13 prisoners. That's all. Oh hell no, well, we were far away. The only time I went on the sub is when it was in Chicago.
Okay.
It's a museum.
Right. There can't be much room in those things. I think there's that one that's still outside the Science Center in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I think when I was in school, we took a tour of it, and I remember it not being very big for as big as the ship is. There's not a lot of room in there.
No, they're not too big at all. Because this sub had a crew of 53, and there was only one casualty. Once they were disabled, the captain on the carrier says we were going to capture them.
Yeah.
So they only used small small guns.
Right.
And only out of the 54, one guy got killed. One German got killed.
I remember reading that, and I've seen the report. All the rounds of ammunition that were fired at that sub, only one guy died in that whole ordeal.
Uh-huh.
Which I think is just amazing. What was that in the background? Did you step on a duck? No, I heard something squeak.
No.
Yeah, I thought I heard something squeak.
Well, that was your dad in the chair I made in 1940.
You made a chair in 1940.
In high school.
Yeah, God, I didn't even know they had wood way back then.
Quack, quack.
Yeah, exactly. So this was June of 44. The war ended in 45 officially. Well, VE Day wasn't that long ago, and that was 45.
Yeah.
And that was it for you in the Atlantic Theater because the Japanese didn't surrender until later, after the bombs dropped. So how long did you actually stay in there? Because you were there, I think, even after the war officially ended, you were still part of your tour?
Well, because a lot of those guys had dependents. They were married and that, so they were all released before I did. I got out in 46.
Okay. So what did you guys do after the war ended? Were you just basically
we still did. We just we cruised. We spent a lot of time in Miami in that area there.
Did you ever go back to Havana, or was it just the couple times before the?
No. We probably stopped there. We were in Key West there for a while when I left my ship in Key West.
Okay.
When I was getting discharged.
So they discharged you. You were in Key West, and you had to get back to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, I went. I left my ship and I went to Bainbridge, Maryland, a naval training place. That's where I was discharged.
Oh, okay. Well, how'd you get up there? Did they train you up there, or take a train up there?
No. Take a what train?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I left my ship in Key West, Florida. We took a bus to Miami.
Okay.
Then from Miami, we went to Bainbridge, Maryland. That's where the boot camp was, and that's where we were discharged.
And that's where you got your official discharge papers.
Yeah, and then I went home from there.
Man, what an experience. Such a short period of time. So much happened. You saw probably one of the most incredible things in modern history, I would say.
You mean a sub?
Well, not just that, but I mean the whole ordeal, being there in the middle of everything.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
The part when the tide of the war definitely started to change.
Yeah.
Because one of the things you grabbed out of that sub, didn't you got another Enigma machine, right?
Yeah, that was that. And that was a...
Oh, you're right.
That was a decoding machine.
Yeah.
And they didn't know that we had it.
So they were still sending stuff out, not realizing the Allies had it.
We could decode it, yeah.
What happened to that one? I know there's one in the World War II Museum in New Orleans. I saw that one. There's an Enigma machine sitting there, but I don't think it's the one you guys grabbed.
No. I don't know about that. Okay.
What a turn of events. You're on your way to Normandy, and all of a sudden, here's a sub with an Enigma machine. You take the whole sub. First time we grabbed anything whole in the water since 1812.
Right, that's right.
And I've read the reports because the Navy put out or finally published the official report, the timeline, and who did what and all that. It looked like it happened real fast. Like it didn't take long for them to basically surface and surrender.
Oh no. Once we got got a contact and put some explosives down there to bust them open, break the water seal.
Yeah, hell, I'd give up too.
They had to come up, yeah. Otherwise, it'd have drowned down there.
Yeah, I would have given up real quick too. When it popped up, how far away was your ship from it? Because I think you guys probably were basically in a big circle around it, just firing down until it popped up.
Well, we could get on our deck and you could see the submarine mostly sunk, and only the focus over the front was sticking out of the water, Well, in the meantime, they were always over there. They were pumping and trying to get the excess water out of there so it would float a lot easier.
Yeah, because at that point, the Germans were doing everything they could to sink it. You guys were doing everything you could to keep it afloat.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Germans were off of it then, but
Right.
they
Yeah.
would open up all the seat cocks, and it was just taking on water, taking on water.
Now, I don't think I ever asked this, but I'm going to ask it now. At the time it happened, did you guys realize what had happened? Like, or was it just another like, hey, we did this, we did something that we were supposed to do, or did you realize that there was something bigger behind it?
We all had our battle stations, and we knew what we were prepared, and well, I was in the repair party number one, and I was never in a boiler room, so I was always up on the top, on the main deck,
Okay.
and we could, me and my coworkers there in this repair party, we could go out on the deck and we could see what was happening.
I can't even imagine what it would have been like to see that. Not just to see it, but to hear it, all that stuff going on. You know, because really, up until that point, did you ever really leave Pittsburgh? Up until you went to Cleveland for the baseball game and then the service?
No, okay, no. I used to go to Camp Twin Echo for my vacations.
Yeah, I remember that place.
You remember Twin Echo?
I do, yeah. It was the old Boy Scout camp, but unfortunately that has since gone by the wayside. Even before all the stuff that's going on with the Boy Scouts now, they quit using Twin Echo and moved it to Camp Heritage.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, okay.
Yeah, but I do remember I went maybe once, but I know you went there, Dad went there when he was in the Scouts. What a hell of a life. Did you ever think about, really writing a book like the German sailors rather did? Did you ever think about it? Just sitting down, writing all this down?
No.
Nah.
Christ, that's how many years? 75 years ago.
God, yeah, 76 years.
I imagine there's a lot of books out there.
Oh, my God. I mean, there's a wealth of information out there about it, but a lot of it is done by military historians, and there's really nothing like a first-hand account. And, those guys are getting a little harder to find these days, and sometimes the memory isn't what it used to be, but you're right there, man. You remember it.
Well, probably detail I must miss too, but
yeah, and still, it's a hell of a lot more details than pretty much anybody listening to this ever had, myself included.
Okay.
So that was that. So the war come to an end. What happened with life after that? I know eventually you went to work for Westinghouse, but once you got back to Pittsburgh in '46, what happened?
I went to Robert Morris, took up accounting.
Did you use the GI Bill for that?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Then they used to have a 52-20 club. If you didn't have a job, you got $20 a week for 52 weeks.
Oh, that's
no strings.
Yeah, better than, especially back then. That wasn't probably bad money.
No, you used to get a 16-ounce beer for a dime.
Oh shit, 20 bucks a week. That's a lot of 16-ounce beers.
No, that they used to call it the 52-20 club.
Huh? I never heard of that. That's interesting.
52-20. You got $20 a week for 52 weeks was the limit. Then once you got a job, you were
you're cut off. It was kind of like a welfare kind of thing, sort of. So you go to Robert Morris, you take up accounting, you go to Westinghouse for however long it was, and then after that,
I worked at Mine Safety first.
Oh, that's right, you were at Mine Safety.
I worked at AMPT Company. I don't know whether you remember them or not.
That one escapes me. I know there was a short period of time when you did sell used cars.
Yeah, Joe Nixon.
Yeah, Joe Nixon. That's right.
Guys, you can't use a name like Upsitnik. I was Joe Dick Nixon.
Yeah, it sounds too ethnic, right?
Yeah.
Well, and at the time, that was a concern. You never knew.
Yeah.
And now you grabbed from what, the old Nixon Theater, I think you said, in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. That's what he said. You're going to be Joe Nixon. They were getting ready to demolish the Nixon, I think.
Did you sell any cars, or were you just kind of there?
No. I'd never get started.
I'll tell you, I'd buy a car from you, Bert.
Okay.
I'd have done it in a heartbeat.
I forgot to mention it. I spent a lot of time in the shore patrol. You know what that is? When we went, when we had liberty in a foreign town or somewhere, you had to send a policeman, what they called shore patrol. For so many men on your ship, you had to send one guy to be a shore patrolman.
Okay, so kind of like an MP almost.
Right. Okay. So I did a lot of that. You had to be a petty officer, but anyway, there were a lot of married guys, 35, 30 on our ship, and they had families. And of course, when I would give my liberty, but at the same time, I could get shore patrol. So I saw, visiting and try to maintaining order through for the services, and that was good because you went all these places, and you could go in and get a meal and even get a beer or something, and you were on liberty, and you didn't get credit. It didn't cost you anything.
Right.
I didn't lose my liberty.
Well, didn't you hang out at the bar that Hemingway drank at in Havana?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that, because you always had that, what I didn't realize it at the time at your house, that little ashtray that kind of looked like a guitar that you got from there in Cuba.
Well, that was Bermuda. That was Cuba.
Yeah.
Yeah, Havana, yeah.
Man. See, and all those years I just played with it and I had no clue what the hell it was. And it was a few years ago we figured out what it was. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Looks like a guitar.
Yeah, it looked like a guitar, and then the bottom slid out so you could empty out the ashes. Let me ask you this. If you had to go back in time, would you do it again?
Yeah, well, I know a lot more now than
right,
what I did then.
But it's a little different than the wars that are going on today, because at least in World War II, we knew who the enemy was.
Yeah. Now here, you want to hear the citation?
Yeah, because I knew that you got the Presidential Unit Citation. You actually have it?
Well, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, I want to hear
in
that.
the book, it has a picture of the Jenks guarding the prize. So, and the submarine is about one third out of the water and the rest in the water. And on this book it said, for extraordinary heroism in action against an enemy German submarine during the capture of that vessel off French West Africa, June 4th, 1944. Locating the German U-505 after a long period, units of Task Group 22.C, that was our task
that
group.
was your guys' number.
They coordinated and relentless tracking, forcing the U-boat to the surface, where the destroyer escorts and aircraft, aware that the ship might get some later, momentarily sink or blow up. A small party braved the danger, plunged through the conning tower hatch, and worked desperately to keep her afloat and to make the U-505 seaworthy for the long tow across the Atlantic. In accomplishing the first successful boarding and capture of an enemy man-of-war since 1815, Task Group 22.3 rendered invaluable service, offsetting subsequent operations in the Battle of the Atlantic, and upheld the oldest and highest tradition of the United States Navy. And that was signed by James Forrestal. He was the Secretary of the Navy at that time.
Okay, I was wondering who signed that. Did the President sign? Okay, so it was the Secretary of the Navy.
James Forrestal. I imagine you heard him.
Yeah, that name is definitely up there. You read anything about naval history in World War II, his name pops up quite a lot. That is cool, because I've never actually heard the wording of the Presidential Unit Citation before.
Okay, well, I have a certificate at home sometime. I'll have to dig it out.
Oh, yeah, I'm laying claim to that.
Okay.
Officially on air.
What else you need?
Well, what else you got? Actually, let's start to wrap it up. Let's talk about, I know I talked about it a few weeks ago, the last trip we took to Las Vegas, right when everything really broke up. And we saw we saw them pulling the chairs from the slot machines and changing.
Yeah, separating them.
Yeah. That was crazy. I think it was just blind, it was good fortune that I was able to get on the flight back to Pittsburgh with you guys because they.
Well, yeah, that's right. That was something.
Yeah, because they boned me, or Chicago boned me.
And I often wondered if it was a lady with 2 or 3 kids. What the hell would it? That really had a hard time, huh?
Right. Because they're telling me, oh, you can stay in Las Vegas. Well, where am I going to stay? We checked out of the hotel. What am I going to do? I'm screwed.
And your car was in Buffalo.
Right, yeah. So I'm in Pittsburgh. My car's in Buffalo. Well, did they tell you? Because I stayed at Dad's that night when we got back.
Yeah.
And then he took me down to Route 8. I rented a car and I drove it to the Buffalo airport and swapped it out for my car.
Well, did you ever get reimbursed from the airlines?
No, they didn't. No, they sent me an email saying, well, it's out of our control when it's air traffic controllers, yada yada yada. Okay, well,
oh yeah,
piss off, basically.
Well, you were more marooned. You were stuck there.
Yeah, I mean, they gave me the 3 options. It was either stay in Vegas, go to Milwaukee, or get on the flight to Pittsburgh. It's like, well, at least the Pittsburgh one makes sense because I have a place to stay.
But you weren't going to get reimbursed either way.
No, they weren't. They wouldn't even give me a meal voucher.
No kid.
Yeah, so that was a thing that happened. But we all made it back. Everybody's healthy and happy. Just we're kind of stuck indoors for a little bit. But at least you're there with Dad, so you got people to talk to.
Yeah.
And you're doing well. It sounds like you're doing well.
Probably gained 10 pounds.
Well, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Oh, no, okay.
No,
not for you because I'm the one that carries it around.
True.
Okay.
I know, as we're recording this, it's actually a couple weeks before Memorial Day, but it snowed yesterday. Did you guys get snow yesterday?
Little flurries, yeah.
Yeah, it snowed like hell here. I sent a picture to Allison, my sister, and she's like, oh my God, it looks like you're getting accumulation. And for a little bit we did, and then the sun came out.
Yeah, well, then your dad had a picture of Harper. There was a few flurries, and she's out there catching them.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it's just early May. Yeah, it's snowing. Why not, right? Oh man.
Yeah, well, I guess them kids are all mixed up too. They can't see their friends or.
Well, that's the problem because they're so used to going to school and going to the playground and doing all this and that, and for the time being, no, you can't do that right now.
Oh, they're talking about Kennywood. I mean, how the hell would you ride the racer or something like that?
Yeah, you ain't riding. No, I think at this point what they should probably do is just not even open Kennywood for the season. Just come back next year. And for all of you who don't know what the hell Kennywood is, it's the old amusement park in, was it in Rankin? Outside of Pittsburgh.
Rankin. Where's Kennywood Park?
Yeah, it's Rankin, I think.
Yeah.
But that's the place where everybody went. Okay. How many times do we see people renting the pavilions for family reunions and school days going to Kennywood? I remember. I haven't been to Kennywood in years.
Well, it was free then. Probably pay $5-6, maybe more.
Ooh, pay a little more than that these days.
Okay, probably $12-15 entrance fee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you pay to get in, and then you got to pay for everything in there.
Oh yeah.
Because I heard that even Disney World wasn't even planning on opening it until September at the earliest.
Oh yeah.
And that's massive. So I don't know what chance Kennywood would have.
Well, we're planning on going to Ocean City end of July.
Okay, we'll see how that works. Hopefully everything's a little better.
I think they're still planning on running them buses, on the boardwalk.
Oh, yeah, the little transport trams?
Then again, the tram. But then again, how the hell are you going to keep 6 foot apart?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you're literally sitting next to each other. It'd be like going to a baseball game. How are you going to do it? Because there's, 3 inches of clearance between you and the guy next to you.
Yeah.
Well, it's a crazy time, but we're all going to get through it. And hopefully by next year, everything will be back to some semblance of normal so we can start to see sports again and go out and do stuff and go to a restaurant and sit down. But at least for the time being, everybody's doing well that I know. You're hanging in there. You're doing well. Keeping busy. Hopefully you're keeping busy because you left your own devices. I don't know. I wouldn't trust that. But all right. I think that's good. Do you have any closing thoughts, Pap? Anything you want to leave the audience with?
No. I enjoyed my time in the service.
Good.
It was a learning experience all the time.
Absolutely. And you did a hell of a thing for the country. You helped make the U.S. who we are. And I'm going to speak for everybody when I say thank you for that. Happy Memorial Day, Bert.
Okay. All right. So long, Zach.
All right. You take it easy.